Welcome to Busted Speakers. I'm Kush,
I'm Alex.
and today we're reviewing In Mind by Real Estate. So Real Estate are a indie rock dream pop sort of band from New Jersey, and this is, I think, I want to say the third album. And
It might be their fourth, but I'm not too sure.
Let me check. Yeah, it's their fourth. Sorry. And I'm not sure. This is my first actual exposure to them. I've always heard about them, and people have been telling me to check it out. I like the soundscapes they make on this record. I like some of the sounds they create, and they add some funk aspects and some rock and some pop aspects. But it does just kind of get samey from song to song after a while.
Yeah, I see what you mean. This is just Real Estate seemed like another faceless indie rock band. They hear many things about, they get a lot of hype, but it doesn't really tell me much about what to expect from them. However, I actually thought this was one of the nicest sounding albums I've ever heard, but really, really nice production work. I can't fault that aspect of it.
Yeah, I think a perfect word for this album, it's a very pleasant album. Like,
Yeah,
it's
pleasant.
easy on the ears, it's good to listen to, like, especially in the background if you're doing something. It's a really nice album to listen to. But when you're sitting there trying to concentrate on it, it does become a little bit boring just because a lot of the songs are very, very similar.
It's very easy to be a pleasant album, but it's not as easy to be something interesting or thought-provoking. And a lot of albums aren't necessarily like that, so it's one of those albums you could easily put on and find it very hard to think much about. Just because of how much I enjoyed the production sound and how well the playing of those acoustic guitars, or I think even electric, but played kind of quietly.
Yeah, I think
I kind of love it anyway, even if it's not that interesting, just the whole sound.
I do love the sound of it. I think the instrumentation is what makes this album. The vocalist is a little bit bland for me. He doesn't have much inflection in his voice, or it doesn't really amount to much, I guess, in the end. But I don't know. I think they have something going for them. They're just not there yet.
I don't know. Well, I don't know where this fits in with their other stuff. Maybe this is just a boring continuation of a similar sound on their past ones, because obviously their other albums have generated hype as well.
Yeah.
So, but as far as I can see, I just really enjoyed this. Favorites, I'd say. This would have been more interesting if Ed was on the show, because on Rate Your Music he has his track ratings for the album, and his lowest rated one is my favorite. Oh, potential contrast there.
Which one's your favorite?
My favorite was probably White Light. I mean, on the surface it doesn't sound very different or that interesting. I can't put my finger on it.
I thought that song was almost like it had a country vibe to it.
This is a perfect... Just because of how fast it was done and how effortlessly it was sung, in a way. It's just a perfect vocal melody in my mind. It's one of those songs I can't forget anything wrong with it. Everything fits so well together and has gone stuck in my head for how well composed it is. As song as they'll get from this. It's just sung really, really perfectly to me. Great melodies, that song. And it was Ed's least favourite rated, so... I mean, all he would have said probably was, I can't remember that one, mate, but...
But yeah, I don't know. I think most of this album was decent. I think they have good aspects. My favorite songs had to be Two Arrows. It was a bit it was a bit longer with an extended instrumental. I think that one...
instrumental at the end is so good.
Yeah, the electric guitar instrumental was a really good change of pace, and I thought it was really interesting. And I think this is where they use the vocal effects to the best of their ability and make it kind of interesting and more unique as to some of the other songs. That had to be my favorite song, Two Arrows. I also like the closer with the really subtle, minimal piano ballad.
Yeah. Absolutely fucking nowhere else on the album is there any piano, and then funny, you have to admit. Just comes out of nowhere. I'm telling you, producers, record engineers, they keep telling artists, add some piano, why not? Last song on the album. Oh dear, they're doing this to annoy me now.
They're coming for you, Alex. They're coming for you.
Existence here because it adds a dissonant and eerie atmosphere to the otherwise really happy album.
Yeah,
So I like it.
There's that song I like specifically because they had a really good transition from the piano to these distorted electric guitars.
Yeah.
Almost to the point where I didn't notice it even switch up. But when I caught on, I was like, wow, this is actually really interesting how they switch it up so subtly and so fluidly.
Yeah. They've got really good production techniques and make all these different types of instruments work well together. So I saw this genre of this band is listed as jangle pop, which I've tried a little bit of, early REM, and even early Birds in the 60s is kind of jangle pop. It just means the guitars are really jingly and melodic, basically. So it's kind of like that a lot of the time, but sometimes I don't think they're fast-paced enough or energetic to be jangle pop. I don't know. However, just the first song, Darling, I mean, just hearing all those intricate, enjoyable guitar lines is just really... It's just so well played the whole way through. Maybe to the point of not being that interesting, maybe, but it's the sort of album I can just praise quite a lot, but not go too specific why it's good. It's just... Real Estate, to me, are just a decent band, basically. You'll enjoy them. They probably won't be your favourite band. They probably won't change your life, but they're really enjoyable and decent.
Yeah, I was actually pretty satisfied with most of the instrumentals on here. Like, this first song, Darling, as you said, had a really nice guitar riff. It was just so... It was both heavy and easy on the ears. Not heavy as in, like, it was aggressive. It was just, like, very complex, I guess. And the instrumentation throughout this whole song is very complex. The song After the Moon has this, like, really weird tropical vibe thing to it. Maybe, like, a 60s or 70s sort of Beach Boy sort of thing. And
yeah, I thought it did have a little surf rock guitar, which is pretty cool. And
I don't know, I think their production is what saved my opinion of them, I think. Otherwise, I don't know if I would have enjoyed it if it had more, like, lazier production.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be into this very much.
Because their vocalist is kind of boring to me. I'm not sure about you.
I think I wrote in several places he's like indie vocalist, like exact cookie cutter vocalist who isn't that interested. I was thinking several times, he reminds me of someone, but then he probably reminds me of the genre as a whole.
Yeah, I think he's a pretty good interpretation of the whole genre.
Basically, I couldn't even analyze many lyrics here just because they weren't that complex or anything. They were
very superficial. For the ones I got were mainly pretty generic indie pop lyrics, like romance based.
Just to fill space. I mean, the most interesting one was like Serve the Song, where they were saying the chorus only interrupts, I sin to serve the song. Kind of feels true, he sins to serve the song. He doesn't sin to meanings behind any of these songs. It's basically a surface level instrument, his vocals.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it is still quite nice sounding. He's not a bad vocalist.
Instead of utilizing the vocals to portray a story, it's just another instrument, and it's just there so you can hear the tone. I don't think.
And it's not that people aren't interested in hearing stories. I mean, I'm up for hearing interesting lyrics or stories or just lyrical ideas. They don't have to be always there, but I don't feel like I got any on here. It didn't matter that much, but that's what I got.
Yeah, I mean, still, it was a pleasant album to listen to. I'm not gonna bash on it too much because I did, for the most part, like what I was listening to. I just felt that it needed something else, maybe just some more substance to it. What would you rate, Alex?
Yeah. It's just going to be a 7. I mean, that's a good rating. Recommend it to people. With this, basically, if you like indie rock.
You'll
It's
enjoy
just
this.
not a highlight for me. You'll enjoy it, just not that much.
Yeah.
Like me, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you will really enjoy it. I don't know. Who knows? They're just a decent band to me.
I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I think that, like, if you enjoy more, I guess I want to say glossy, like well-produced indie rock
Very,
music,
very glossy, I have to say.
if you enjoy that, this is your kind of thing. But as someone who's not the biggest fan of well, I like indie rock music, but there is just so much out there that it's hard to sift through all the not so good ones for the good ones.
Very
So
glossy.
I don't really try, but you know, I enjoyed listening to it for the most part. There's a couple songs that stood out to me, like Two Arrows, Serve the Song, and the closer.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I felt it was kind of samey throughout the album. But still, it was a good listen. There's not one song I can pull out and say this is the worst song on here. This is really bad. Because for the most part, they're all pretty decent.
And here's the thing: even though my rating isn't that high, it's okay. It's pretty good. I did listen to this album the most out of anything we covered this week, just because it's so easy to listen to.
Oh yeah.
It's nice. It's nice background, relaxing music to chill out to. It's basically the kin of that, and a lot of people are actually looking for music like that. So that's the best way to recommend this from me.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that completely working, because I am able to picture myself listening to this while like studying or running or something like that. So
Yeah.
well, if that's it, then thanks for tuning in to Busted Speakers. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe. Let us know what you think about In Mind by Real Estate in the comments below, and check us out on social media.